Hello everyone. Today we have a game between Andrew Kayonde and Daniel Cawdery, and it's not one game, it's actually two games, but they're both very interesting because they follow exactly the same opening. And the first one is from 2018 at the Capablanca Festival, which has been cancelled this year because of COVID. And the other game was played in 2020, now recently, in March, the 16th of March, at the 2020 Boardwalk Pearson Open Chess Festival. So let's start with the first game and see where the game's history starts. Okay, so we've got one d4, knight f6, c4, g6, and knight c3. And we see the king's Indian defense, which we haven't seen against Cawdery so far. And d5, played immediately. Bishop f4, and the move c takes d5 and knight f3. But bishop f4 also a very strong line. And bishop g7, e3, and c5, competing for that center. And it's complicated, but okay. Daniel knows his theory. After d takes, we have queen a5, and you can look at this previous position. There isn't really a better move than the main line, d takes and queen a5 for both situations. And this queen pins the knight and opens the d8 square. And the move rook c1 is played, main line in the Grunfeld, and d takes c4. Bishop takes, and now castles. He can notice white hasn't castled yet, so he needs to figure this out. You can go knight f3 or knight e2, they're both good. Kayonde goes for knight e2, probably preparing f3 in some lines if the bishop decides to go to g4. And okay, I like knight e2 more. Aronian plays knight f3 though, so there must be something there. Okay, so queen takes c5 in the game, and the move queen b3. Getting off of the diagonal in some lines, also weakening this square, getting the queen active, and mainly defending the bishop. So knight c6 in the game, and okay, so knight c6 is immediately met by the move knight d5. And you can see there's this tactic on the queen where white wants to take on f7 check and pick up the queen with discovery, and also this knight is getting into c7. For some players, this wouldn't be too nice. So um, if you're not keen for walking into discoveries at all, the move queen a5 temporarily just spins the knight, so and gets you off of this file. So then you can play knight c6. And then also your queen isn't stuck on the king side. Not really stuck, it's probably better on the king side than in the line played in the game. So the line played in the game, knight c6 and now knight b5, so the queen needs to move. Not many squares, so it goes to h5, and now the move knight g3, hitting the queen again, and we see queen h4, and now knight c7. After we've weakened the queen. Knight g4 probably in the other case as well, if you had gone f5, and then who knows, you'd even get kicked away on the d file, and your queen could possibly be trapped. Okay, so knight c7, and then move e5. And this is kind of theory. White should get the exchange, but who knows if he's getting this knight back into play, and it's really, there's compensation for black here. Okay, so in the game, after the move e5, bishop g5 is played, and you can't really go knight takes first, after e5, because of e takes, and now suddenly black is just a lot better because you need to sort this out, and this pawn really starts undermining your position, and this rook gets in. So quite rightly so, the bishop is moved, and this is the beauty of the position. It goes to g5 with tempo, and so it's taken, and then the rook is taken. And now you try and get this knight back into the game. After it's taken, not knight takes a8 immediately, just first one more improvement on the king side, move h4, and now you're forcing the queen to the square g4. Then knight takes the 8. Okay, then the move knight a5 in the game, trading off this strong piece, and queen b5, knight takes c4, and rook takes c4. And the tactical move here is bishop d7, which is clever because it hits the queen and the knight all at once. And if rook takes, then you take here, and you're probably picking up this piece as well. So the move queen b4 in the game, keeping onto the tension, and queen c5 is possible as well, not played that often. Rook c8 isn't a threat, simply because of queen takes c8 check, and then you can catch here, and this knight is getting back. So in the game, queen b4, queen on b4 also keeps its eye on the pawn on b7, and e4, shutting that down. And queen takes b7 is playable, bishop e6, and basically you give back the exchange in some lines that bishop's defended. And yeah, this is from the game Alyanov Pavel, and basically you play two knights versus the bishops, and then your upper pawn on the queen side. Mamedyarov managed to win this, but Kayonde doesn't want to go for this. Two knights is very, very tricky against two bishops. So that is avoided. Instead, in the game, he goes for knight c7, immediately retreating the knight, not going for the pawn. And the move bishop c6 played, and now queen d6. And it's in this first game that he plays the move rook c8 on move 21. And it's not a terrible move. It's definitely playable. Pretty much asking where's this piece going, developing that last piece, and maybe setting up some tactic later on. And the move f3. And now we can kind of notice that, okay, the queen can't go back to c8 in this situation, as if the rook had been on f8. Then queen c8 would have been a nice move. All the other queen moves actually seem pretty bad, and you can't capture it because of this the spin on the pawn. So now, in this case, queen d7 was probably the move, but now after queen takes d7 and knight takes d7, now it really feels like you're playing down the exchange against white. After the move knight d5, the knight gets out. And black should probably hold because of the strength of the bishop there. But I think Cawdery was maybe afraid of this. So after the move f3, he makes the blunder bishop f8. And this is a blunder because of queen takes f8 check, king takes f8, and now f takes g4, rook takes c7, and g5. And now we reach a similar situation, but where you don't have the bishop pair anymore. Okay, so let's see what big difference this makes. After the move knight g4, rook c3, holding onto the pawn, rook d7, knight e2, and knight e5. Both sides regrouping their pieces, knight e4 on an outpost, another outpost. But soon we realize that white is definitely feeling that he's up the exchange. Not too sure why Cawdery traded down. I don't think it's that avoidable, and maybe just keeping onto the piece for the time being is a bit stronger, playing bishop d5. But okay, maybe he felt that he could work with his passed pawn. Rook takes d4, king e3, and now just a near perfect endgame from Kayonde. Rook d6, g4, running up the extra pawn, h5, and it's actually just quite satisfying to see this conversion. By this time, because of the material imbalance, it's already plus about 4 for white here. The king goes up, and now the pawns just come in, and he makes just the waiting move. You can just improve your position, continue improving it. Rook f2, an example, and rook d1. Black doesn't really find a way to improve the position. Only after improving it up till this point is that pawn taken and recaptured, and now attacked from over here. And the point being that this pawn can't really be defended. bishop here would walk into some nasty rook c7 checks. That's the bishop's job. And after rook d7 and trades, then you're definitely losing. So you can't allow that. So you kind of need to give up the piece, the pawn. Rook g1 is played in the game, going after a different pawn. And simply now, king f4, great move. Saying, okay, well, this pass pawn doing nothing. And now the move rook f1 check, and the king gets to e5. Great square for the king. The move rook e1 in the game, not wanting to trade. But now after rook h3, black resigns. Because these rooks are coordinating and white is just pushing back. Definitely a dominant position. For example, let's say black went king d7 here. There's actually a mate in 6. Rook h7 check, king e8, rook e6, king e6, threatening this mate because of the king cutting off this square. And also if the king runs, then, if the king runs, then rook f8 check, followed by bishop, and then rook takes and checkmate down there. But many situations, black would simply just get mated here. Bishop d7, rook takes d7, rook f1, and just simply checkmate like on the back rank. Okay, so this is game one. Losing the bishop there versus down the exchange was a very bad thing to happen to Cawdery. So let's see how he approaches this in game two. Obviously, he doesn't want to concede that his opening was bad or anything like that. He sticks to the line, and we see an exact game in 2020 up till we see an exact game up till this point. Knight g3, played, and now the move queen g4. And in the previous game, he went queen h4. So this is a bit of a trolling move because now you actually need to go sit over the board and figure out what does queen g4 do. And okay, Kayonde didn't take a lot of time, but an average player might have taken more time to figure out if there's a nuance difference between these two moves. So Kayonde obviously had his preparation done for the game, and okay, as you remember in the previous game, after knight c7 e5, the move bishop g5 kind of hit with tempo on the queen. So my question was that, okay, after knight c7, as was played in the game, can you do something different here? And after the move e5, after bishop g5 doesn't come with tempo? And the answer is probably yes, because now you're not forced to take here, and rook b8 could be an idea. And then expand differently and claim that you don't need to play down the exchange in this game, and look for some other type of compensation. So I was really thinking this was the main idea of the move queen g5, until the move knight c7, bishop g5 came, and Cawdery just took that bishop after bishop g5, not going for rook d8, other type of ideas, just simply going queen takes, and we convert back into exactly the same game. So okay, let's see how he goes different in this second game. He got h4, queen g4, exactly the same, knight takes, knight a5, and we see this trade, both players doing exactly the same thing. Bishop d7, queen b4, exactly as in the same game, e5, the knight comes back, bishop c6, and now the move queen d6. And in the previous game, Cawdery went rook c8 here, and after the move f3, I don't know if you remember, he made the blunder bishop f8, while queen d7 was probably possible, but probably also just walked into a worse position. So his improvement in this game after queen d6 is the move h5, and it's a bit of just a tempo move. It does expand, it makes an outpost for this knight, takes some space on the white squares, and Okay, basically putting the move into white's hands in this game. And now something like f3 just isn't as strong because you've always got the move queen c8. Now you didn't use this move to occupy the square. Queen c8 is a nice move here. And okay, even knight takes e4 stuff doesn't pan out that nicely because you need to go f takes. And you've made a lot of progress by opening up the king. You should be able to make at least a draw here. So in the game, Kayonde also just gives the move back, h5. He's like, okay, I really want you to make the rook c8 blunder, so he goes b3, and he kind of asks Cawdery to make that same blunder. But now Cawdery says, okay, you provoked it, but I've calculated out that in this specific situation, with the inclusion of the move h5, that my position should be really fine after the move f3. So f3, and maybe he had this move prepped at home, because move f3 actually includes a queen sack after the move e takes, rook takes, knight takes, and white's king isn't getting to safety. This could be a huge problem. Your knight is still far away, and apparently this is just way more than enough compensation for black to play. And it seems easy to play as well for black. So let's just make normal moves like knight d5, bishop takes, and you can't even go queen takes now, so maybe not even knight. It's tricky to play. So castling just walks into more expansion. Bishop e5 is actually a big threat here in a lot of these lines. Okay, so I'm guessing the queen sack was definitely an idea, and one Kayonde didn't want to hear of. I don't expect he would have retreated again queen d7, because this is very similar to the previous game he lost. The only real idea I see here is a queen sack. And that is pretty badass, returning to your second game with a strong queen sack. And in the game, the move a4, not going f3 anymore, but simply a6, and some developing, remaneuvering, trying for stuff, trying different ways to get the knight out, maybe attacking the e-pawn from a different direction. Saying bishop f8 isn't playable because the knight will hang. And okay, bishop d5 played, and here basically Cawdery calculated the game out into a forced draw. Often knight takes, the move knight takes, and basically the queen is still under fire, and there's a perpetual down here, so queen gets out of the fire, and queen c1 check, king e2, and queen b2 check. Point being that black's queen is under fire, so playing something like this check is just going to trade pieces and won't achieve anything. The fork doesn't, so playing this check here would just be a lot better probably for white. And taking the queen, you're going to play down the exchange, so you don't want to do that. So black doesn't have that discovery yet because his queen's under fire, but after the move queen to e2 check, the king simply goes to f1, and you're basically threatening getting your king to safety. So black just continues checking, and it's in this position they made a draw after repeating 3 times, I think. So yeah, what a great improvement. Realizing that the c8 square needs to be vacant until you have the move h5 in this position in the second game. So that square needs to be vacant until you have the move h5, and then you could maybe prep a queen sack and win a game in style. But then both players realizing, or Kayonde at least realizing the danger of it, and simply continuing slowly and walking into a forced draw line in the second game. But well done to Kayonde on winning the first game. And thanks, I hope you enjoyed these terribly strong games.